Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your dignitaries, I'll just suffice to that, not naming anybody. So Your Excellencies and dear professors, students, and my very great beloved countrymen, we call Watan Dara in Afghanistan. So I'm very privileged actually to be speaking today here among some of the greatest, figures, and of course from Afghanistan as well. I have got few friends. Mr. Osot Amini is here. He comes from my city, so I'm so happy to see him here. In Afghanistan, normally we would have our boring subject at the end of the class. So hopefully my speech is not as boring as you might think. I try to make it a bit interesting. In fact, when the Excellencies were talking, I looked into my calendar, and today is 9/11. This is the start of the day which changed my life, which transformed the life of many Afghans. I'm sure, the people who are here, it transformed their lives as well. So that was the time that we are talking before that, a black and dark era of the Taliban, where everyone was deprived of education. So were I, and especially the women in Afghanistan. I would have been so much interested actually to see a couple of Afghan ladies here as well as part of this delegation. So I'm really hoping that this next time you will invite Afghan girls as well. That will be, fantastic. Oh, we have got here. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, we have got. Okay, you're a student. So as part of the delegation, I think it will be really good. Because we always talk in Afghanistan about gender equality. So, that would be fantastic. But I do appreciate. So I'm so privileged actually to be speaking here. And thank you so much to Amity University. I'm sorry for being late here. In fact, our former president was here. So I had to escort him, and I'm really sorry for keeping you waiting in case if you were waiting for me. In fact, the rule of education, I think the Excellencies talked about that and how much it means to Afghanistan. I think I'm a good example of that. These guys who are sitting here, I think this is a very good example of what today's Afghanistan looks like. When I asked a friend in the old days that, what is the Bollywood cinema, because it has got, very big audience in Afghanistan. I remember, said that is all about entertainment. But in Afghanistan, in today's era, it's all about education. So I think the biggest gift to a nation is education, especially a country like Afghanistan, which has suffered almost 4 decades of war. And India now, the contribution that India is making is massive, and it's really, really great. I, as the representative of my government, I really appreciate it from the depth of my heart, because since 2003, one of our biggest, trusted and cherished partners has been India. And so far they have almost 60,000 Afghan students, you are surprised, have graduated from India since 2003. 16,000 Afghan students are studying now in India. So that's a huge number. That's like a big force. I always say that this is the force which will drive Afghanistan forward. Afghanistan is a very young country. Almost under 75% of the population is under the age of 25. So investing in Afghanistan, I think it is very crucial, and especially education-wise, it's really, really, really important. So talking about the younger generation, which as I said, referring back to 9/11, we in Afghanistan, is right that we have suffered a lot. But the good thing is that we are the most resilient people on earth. Trust me, if it was any other nation to have suffered this much, they wouldn't have existed on earth today. So we Afghans, I believe these guys who are here, they have a kind of warrior DNA in them. And that is the DNA which has made them survive for so many years. So that's why, seeing all these dynamic guys, my representatives, our government's representatives, this gives me hope for the future of the country, because we have so many problems and challenges, as you might know. The peace talks going on one side. We have our presidential elections on 28th of September. So having said that, what makes us optimistic about the future of the country is, the young generation and the educated ones. So that is really important. And especially we are talking about a country like India that, let me quote His Excellency, our President, once he said that in order to make friendship with a new country, you have to overcome your past. But we have got such a great past with India that we can have, such a fantastic future. So this is the kind of atmosphere we are talking about. And I'm really, really privileged actually to be speaking, in front of like so many professors. I just started my PhD a couple of days ago. So I'm kind of, one of you guys, in fact. So one of those guys who are doing researches and all that. So we have got a generation very committed, dynamic, girls and boys, in fact. The reason why I talked about the women, because women are playing a very important role in Afghanistan. I was just doing a speech a couple of days ago, and I said, like, we have got 28% of presence of women in the parliament, more than India, even more than the United States. So that's why I'm saying that, next time it's very good to invest on Afghan girls as well. I know that, India is giving a lot of scholarships, 1,000 every year. But I would really appreciate, since this is one of the biggest and well-known universities, if you guys could also offer scholarships, funded scholarships to Afghans, especially like investing on Afghan ladies and Afghan women who are really bright, but they are really looking, for such opportunities. I know I have been given 5 minutes, but the reason, because I just came late, so I just want to compensate that. As part of my mission, one of the things that I'm like so much focusing on is the soft diplomacy, something that I'm doing here today. So people to people connect, how we can draw the attention of our Indian friends, and especially the education-wise, that they can invest more in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is such an intact country, and we have got like a scope in so many areas. One of the areas I told the excellencies at the beginning of when we had just a 5-minute chat there, I said that perhaps, my only dream for the future is that if India invested in Afghanistan in terms of IT, making one of our cities like one of your high-tech cities like Bangalore, or the Silicon of Afghanistan, funded by India. And since you guys have that capacity, I think there is so much potential that your university, they could do something, a big project like that, because that is also a big investment in terms of income. And on the other hand, that shows actually the strong bonds that the two countries and the two nations have. Because as one of our brothers, when he was talking, he said that we feel home here. So this is like our second home. When we come to India, we don't feel like we are in a strange country. We feel like, we are in our home. So thank you. And virtual education-wise, I really proposed that quite a couple of years ago when I was doing something similar. I had a proposal. The proposal was if you guys could launch now perhaps as part of a virtual package called iDars.
Sure.
Dars means listen in Dari, in Persian, in Afghanistan. So I is that online or whatever you call it, or like iPhone that they put now, it's like a trend. So that is something I always had in mind, that if you guys could promote that, especially for those Afghans who are deprived of getting an education. I think this will be so much for them, and a great help, especially from distance. So that is one more thing I want to say is that I think one of the excellencies was talking about how giving a nation a gift. I always believe that rather than giving a nation the fish, you need to teach them how to fish. So this will be a great idea if you guys could go over there and do some fair education fair, launch education fair programs for Afghanistan. Because I know I have so many friends, from the city I come from, I always receive emails, on WhatsApp or Twitter, asking how we can enroll, how we can get higher education, be it PhD or masters or bachelors. So I think if you guys could promote that kind of education for Afghans as well, be it for by launching education fair in the country or by online courses, perhaps putting more posters, and my colleague here, Mr. Sahad, could help you with that as well, because we have got so many enthusiastic Afghans who would love to come to India and pursue their higher education, and where better than this prestigious university. So at the end, I would like to thank the university again, first of all, for inviting me. I really apologize for being late. As I said, I had to attend something, otherwise this was one of the most important events which I have put in my calendar as well. Mr. Sahar knows it, and I'm really happy that I see a couple of my friends and great colleagues from Afghanistan. Listening to their experiences, I really got happy, because a country that has always been associated with drugs, war, and suicide bombings is now being, associated with such faces, young faces, education, bright, and who are leading actually the government and the country now. And just to put on that, I don't know if you guys know that our government is now one of the most youngest governments in the world. We have got so many young people like myself representing the country, be it female and male, in different spheres. And at the end, I would like to conclude my speech. It wasn't a speech, actually, I was just taking some notes, by reciting one of the greatest poems by a great poem, a Persian poem, a 13th century poet, Maulana Balkhi, who says that, raise your words. Raise your words, not your voice. It's the rain that grows the flower, not the thunder. So it is actually dedicated to education. Thank you so much again. And whatever we can give at the end from the Embassy of Afghanistan, I myself and a great and committed a team of diplomats that we have at the embassy, you're always welcome, and we support any initiative which leads to educating Afghanistan. Thank you so much.